righty, he's ready and primed to go. Thank you both. Good to see you. Now let's bring in Walter Russell Mead, Wall Street Journal's great columnist, and it's always a pleasure to see you, sir. Thank you for being here. Let's talk about the Iran deal, first of all. We won't burden you with Marxist America right now, but it has brought the price of oil down significantly. Oil right now is trading at about the same place it was a year ago. The price of gas will come down eventually, probably in about a week or so, to match what it was a year ago. So that's a good thing. But you are skeptical about whether it will resolve the really fundamental issues, the reasons why we originally went to war with Iran. Explain what those issues are and why you're skeptical.
All right, sure. The core of the problem between the U.S. and Iran is that the people running Iran are committed to the idea that Iran needs to dominate the Persian Gulf, including the Strait of Hormuz, and intimidate the Arab countries in the Gulf so that Iran can blackmail the world by either blocking or releasing oil from the Middle East to the rest of the world. That's kind of the core Iranian objective here. The belief is if they can achieve this, this makes Iran a great world power. It would certainly give it a lot of influence. And the United States has been trying since World War II to prevent any country from getting that kind of power and the ability to impose that kind of blackmail.
Well, we have severely crippled the regime's nuclear ambitions, at least. Maybe they could work their way back to it with enough time and money, but we have destroyed a lot of their military capabilities. That's not nothing, right?
No, it's not nothing. But unfortunately, most of those can be rebuilt. And the Iranians have done it in the past. Israel has bombed various Iranian facilities in the past, and the Iranians bounce back. So, unless we can sort of alter that basic trajectory in some way, we're just going to see one crisis after another in the Middle East. I think actually President Trump understands this. And I note that the memorandum of understanding is pretty flexible, that there is a lot of room for negotiation here. But I think I think we would be fooling ourselves if we thought that, peace with Iran was just one signature away. It's harder than that, unfortunately.
Well, I think we'd also be fooling ourselves if we believe that Trump is not ready to go again. We have our military force in great numbers in that region right now. Of course, a year ago, we're about at the anniversary of when he took out a big chunk of their nuclear facilities. We also, just a couple of weeks after his last attack, you don't have any doubt that if there was a red line that they crossed, for example, if they tried to stop shipping in the Strait again, or if they really had a major attack against Israel, that we would go in, no?
Well, that's the kind of thing that the president is not going to decide today what he's going to do next week. He'll look at the situation next week and say, where do we are? A line that looked really red today might look only kind of pink next week, just depending on other circumstances and so on. So I think in that sense, neither the Iranians nor really the Americans quite know what's coming next. And let's not forget that Israel is kind of a wild card here too, that Iran could do something, or Hezbollah could do something, as we've seen already, that restarts the war in, say, Lebanon. How does that then affect the Gulf? And I think the president understood that without some kind of relief, the world economy was heading for a crisis, as the oil supply dried up, and was looking for a break. Will that have changed 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks down the road, and what will he do? So, as always in the Middle East, it's best not to be too confident in your predictions.
Yeah. There's always craziness going on there. Walter Russell Mead, great to see you. Thank you so much for your advice, for your perspective. Appreciate it.